Alright folks, if you ever wanted to learn how to drive a GWR train like this as a single engine with no cars attached and learn how to even haul it with a CXS engine or even a Class 66 engine or even any other way, this particular video may just be for you folks. Hello everybody, welcome back to Train Sim World, where we are currently sitting outside of Old Oak Common Depot. There is no trains here because of course on free roam. What we're going to be teaching you a little bit about is the HST. How do we find the Class 43 HST? Obviously when you're spawning a new train, and let's just go ahead and type in just simply what I just said. As soon as I type in Class 43, there is nothing here. So where the heck is the Class 43? I have the GWE downloadable content. It should be on there. So what's going on, folks? Let's go ahead and type in HST. What do we got? It's the GWR HST Mark III TFD. Let's go ahead and see what that is. What is this? We're going to select this and spawn it in. Oh my god, well we spawned in the rail car. This is not what we were looking for. We were looking for the HST train. So what happened to our HST? Spawning in another train, typing in HST. What is this one then? GWR HST Mark III TSD. That must be yet another car. If you're guessing that right, you are 100% right, folks. Guess what? We got yet another car. What's the difference between these two? Honestly, they are very, extremely similar cars. However, there's some slight differences between the two, as you can clearly visibly see between here and there. But where are the engines? How do you find the HSTs? Well, let's go back in the spawn menu one more time, and we're going to type in high speed this time, not HST speed. But yeah, as soon as you type in high speed train GWG, what is this? Oh my god, you got all of these options here. You have many options. You have loaded and empty cars. If you obviously select empty, you're going to be getting a set of cars that have no one in it. If you're going to be selecting loaded, you're going to have a whole bunch of people essentially full of people. So let's go ahead and select first off one of these loaded ones. Let's just see what this even looks like. Yes, it is a multiple car engine. There it is. I was like, where's the engine? The engine didn't even show up. Where's the people? There they are. They're slowly spawning in and the people are loaded. These people are going to have to suffer here in the loading dock forever. All right, going back to the spawn menu, we're going to type high one more time and we're going to go right back in. Now we did the MK43 coaches time forward loaded. What is the same deal with the reverse version? Obviously, there's empty versions of it. There's the ×7 version of it. What we want is a reverse loaded, just to have a nice comparison between the one we just spawned and the one that we're going to spawn. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hop in this engine because it would make more sense. I was like, there's a driver in there, but thankfully there is not. The way to get in this engine, obviously right here in the very front, we're going to shut the door just to stop all the noise and sit in the driver's seat. That way I can do camera 8 and we can see everything. Oh my god, I'm not trying to drive just yet. That way we can see everything side by side. Obviously, this one has this nice, awesome, pretty driver, so we're not going to worry about that guy right there. What is the difference between loaded and empty, folks? So notice the seat arrangements are identical. The people in there are practically identical because everybody wants to be a twinner to everybody in here. However, what is the difference between forward and reverse? Honestly, it is just the fact. Now, here's the difference right there. It's just the fact that the train happens to be facing the opposite direction. So as you can see, the label is no longer on that side. So technically, this train on my left is facing forward. This train on my right is facing reverse. The people inside here just don't care. They will sit exactly where they choose to sit. Now, with that said, let's hop out of this engine just for a second because we don't need this other one for right now. We're going to delete this one. Bye-bye, train. That gives me a little more space to work with. As you can see, there's no way up in this car. The only way up is to actually go through this particular door, climb the steps, obviously just walk in here. Somehow there's mysterious power going on. I don't know how that's working. All the lights supposedly are working in this car. As you can clearly see, the lights are all off, but yet the door doesn't work, obviously. Now, that's where that one difference is. This is usually the engine-facing car compared to the other car down there. However, all the main doors work just hunky-dory fine, and we could just fall right out the back door. This one here is a little bit more of the fancy first-class car, and then the other one that we were just in is more like the coach car. We have these cars available in the menu. How in the world do we hook these cars up? We're going to come right back to that in a few minutes, folks. Getting back into our main engine. Now, you obviously saw how I got in there. This engine, unfortunately, there is a door here. I love you, Dovetail Game, for putting in a door. Thank you for putting in signs saying I need ear protection. I got them on. I am perfectly compliant here, and I cannot go through this door to see the engine room. Why do you prevent me from seeing the engine room? I'd love to see the engine room. It's like the best part of the engine. Now, to change that, of course, there's a little toggle here that says engine room light off. I'm going to turn this engine room light on. What does that do when you can't see the engine room, folks? Well, if you go right on the outside of the engine, Already you can see the engine room right here on the top with the lights on, and if it was nighttime you get this really nice pretty glow from the side where you get to see the engine room. Yet they modeled it and they do not let me go inside. It's just messed up, Dovetail game, just messed up. There is a door here I can go in, and what you learn eventually is this happens to be the place where you can do stuff as a conductor, as a guardsman. You can go in there and press those buttons. They modeled it through the window, yet you cannot go in. Let's talk about how we deal with this engine. There's a convenient button right here, but before we do that, we need to turn on the cap light. The cap light button is right over here. Ironically, there's another cap light button right over there if the first one is not convenient to you. Now, if you notice, if I did this, I cannot turn on the cabin light, nor can I turn it off, so you have to make sure this is one of those dual switches where just make sure you know which switch you turned on to get the right cap light to go on. Very important, folks. What I want to highlight here is the engine stop button. Let's go ahead and press this button. We know the engine is off because one, I'm telling you it's off, and two, if I go outside, the same theme of looking at the smokestack, which are these little vents right here that create a V-shaped smokestack. This is not only off here, it actually shuts off the engine in the very back. Very key, folks, very key. How do we start this engine up? It's absolutely ridiculously simple. Just press the engine start stop button and your engine will basically start up. However, if you notice I'm pressing the button, what's going on? I cannot start my engine. Why? Why are you not letting me push the button now, Dovetail Games? What's going on? I pressed the engine stop button, yet you cannot press the engine start button. Oh wait, what is this? Yes, folks, there's two buttons. There's an engine stop button right here, engine stop, and then there's an engine start, whatever reason this is here for, and then you have engine start. Let's press this. How quickly will this start up, folks? That's right, if you hear it, you can hear the noises kind of turning over, and then you can hear the engine revving up. And if you're really good like me, you would just find a nice place out here, stare into the sun, and watch the clouds of smog come up into your face. Going on the other side, yes, it does not start the opposite engine. Keep that in mind, folks. If you want me to show you that again, I am happy to. I am outside this engine. That's the engine we just spawned in a few minutes ago. This is the engine I spawned in just to show you the difference. As you can see, the smoke's coming out of this side, go all the way to the very back. You a little too far. Right there, the smoke's coming out here. Go back over to this engine. Notice when we started up the engine, this engine does not start up. So yes, you do have to keep in mind, you do have to start both ends of this engine. Don't just assume automatically that it's the easiest process in the world. You could just start the front engine and never touch the back engine. Very important, folks. With that said, let's get rid of this engine because it's just going to cause more problem for me, so I don't want that engine right there. Let's go ahead and hop back into the main engine, folks. We are definitely going to start that back engine. So let's press Control Plus. We get into the back engine. Yes, don't press the engine start stop button there. All you have to do is just press the engine start. And if you go out to camera 3 or camera 8 or camera 2, eventually you can hear the noise going ding, 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 and the engine starts up, and all of the wonderful smog will go right into your face. You can definitely tell your engine started. This is extremely important in the context because Dovetail Games sound doesn't quite replicate very well to tell if your engine's on or the one next to you on. It's the engine on, especially when you're at a station, folks. Now, folks, since we are back in this engine, we are going to look at our headlights. So what's the point of our headlight? We have night headlamp marker mode, and by the way, we should highlight something right down here in the bottom. We'll switch this as they go along. We have tail lights, we have night headlamp mode, off, day headlamp mode, and marker light. Where are the marker lights? Why are they not on? Let's just go ahead and check on the outside. What's going on with our marker lights? I don't know, folks. I see them. There they are. They're lit up, yet it didn't show up on the little screen. I don't know why that was the case. Maybe the screen burnt out. Maybe the screen is not burnt out. And interestingly enough, I'm on the wrong side of the engine. No wonder I can't see what's going on, folks. Alright, put myself back in the correct front engine. Let's go ahead and put marker light, and the marker lights still don't show up here. So that's really the only function that will not show up on the screen officially. When you go down to day headlamp mode, obviously you can see the lights here is lit up, as well as the marker lights on the side as well, except for this one light. This is the only one that's not lit up there. That is for when the sun is out, you want day headlamp mode. When the sun is not out, that's actually where you're going to go with night headlamp markers. We also have tail lights. What does that look like out here? well, obviously these become red and you have a tail light. So what does this mean? If I go into the very back cab, that actually means the tail light will not turn on the back cab. So what we realistically have to do is we have to press Control Plus, and when we press Control Plus and switch this one onto tail light, that is where we will finally see our tail light. Pressing Control Plus again, we'll go back into the main engine, and we will just set this up on marker light mode because we're technically in a yard. That's technically the point of maintenance markers for movement throughout a yard. We're not really doing day headlamp mode or anything like that. Alright folks, so one more point about the engine before I go away from the engine. There's also a local engine stop. Dovetail Games did not create the ability to use this function nor the general fault button function, which is terrible. And even the lead test button does not actually activate other than just pushing the button, which is messed up. So what's the point of this, Dovetail Game? Why do you include buttons that don't light up? One of the ones that does light up is the wheel slip function. If you put on the throttle and you start to go, when you start to accelerate, you will get wheel slip. However, in this state here, I don't believe I can get this train to do a wheel slip. We could try, we can attempt to do it when we get this train to go forward, but that's fine. The idea behind it is there's a two-step process. The power is automatically reduced and the wheel slip light turned on the cab. The other half is when the wheel slip stops, then the power is reapplied, that the not selected on the power handle, and the wheel slip light extinguishes itself and completely turned off. If the wheel slip occurs again, the process just repeats itself. As you, the driver driving this train, you have to assess what power knot you want to have. That is actually the point of the ampere guide right here. So that tells you like how much amps you really should be going, but in the context of this HUD, you have this notch that tells you where the max amperes should be for the relation of pulling the train without wheel slip. Whereas in your train, you have to kind of gauge that and guess that based on the feel. We obviously can't feel it because we don't have 4D power here, folks. The one that's not officially available is this lock axle button. I wish it could be available. If we ever get an expert HST class 43, like the expert VR 101, that would be cool because then we would get a lock axle button, and that lock axle button does some cool stuff. That is the point of getting a qualified train engineer or technician using diagnostic tools and procedures specific to HST class 43. Yes, what does that mean? You get the little computer chip, you find a little port and you plug it in, and probably even this port here for all I know. You plug it in and you make a diagnostic and you get an answer. Yay! Now, potential causes of a lock axle includes faulty sensors. This light should be lit up because this button and that button and this button do not work. So yes, they should be lighting that button up the entire time we're using this train, folks. It also includes brake malfunction, and it also includes low voltage, which I don't expect that to happen. Now, if this really did happen in real life, you would actually be as the operator following established procedures, including engaging the brake, contacting maintenance personnel, and even evacuating the train. Yes, people that are in this train that are going nowhere, you will be evacuated. Locked axle actually poses a major safety hazard, folks, and that includes wheel locking or the train losing complete control. Honestly, on a Brunel line, I don't see it losing control. All it would do maybe is slam into another train. I don't see it derailing. Now, there is another function on here, something called the brake test button. But first, before we get there, we have the gauge dimmer. How do we turn on our gauge light? This is not our gauge light here at all. Where is our gauge light function, folks? Yes, that is right, folks. Our gauge light is our gauge dimmer. So all we have to do is just turn this on just to get our little light up. So the brakes, we got to talk about that for just a second. Obviously, there's a train brake here. We're going to use that in just a second, but we have this function called brake test normal and brake test test. Yes, that's right. There is a brake test function in this train. This, of course, did not work on this train, and I wish they would have at least included something with this. It would be kind of cool to be able to walk through this sort of setup, and so you can do full preparation if you're really wanting to do that before the train leaves the depot or the depot. In a future post, maybe we can talk about this being a thing, but for now, the idea behind it is the brakes applied in real life. The brake pipe pressure cannot be created at a 0 bar pipe pressure. You'll notice this already. It says 3.4. Even if I set on the parking brake, which happened to be this button, the parking brake is officially on. Even if I turn on the DRA, which won't even matter in this context, the brakes should be, realistically at 0. Even if I release the brakes here, and the brakes won't release until I turn on the master key. So let's go ahead and do that. turn on the master key, put the brakes back into full service, put the brakes back here. Nothing is happening. The brakes will not release. Why is this, folks? What's going on? Let's go ahead and put the reverser onto neutral. There we go. Our brakes are finally dropping down, or at least this one going up and this one going down. So our brake cylinder is finally vacating. Hooray, folks, hooray. But if we put this on full service, again, we're going to have the same problem where the brakes never fully deplenish where it's supposed to with the brake test function. What's supposed to happen here in real life, if I put on this parking brake, I should have that brake pipe pressure drop completely to zero, almost as if I did this. That is what's supposed to look like, and then I can do the brake test function to make sure the brakes are properly working. In Train Sim World, this just did not happen. And again, the idea behind this, it's used in the preparation of the train so the normal train brake can be tested while the parking brakes are applied. Now, folks, where's the window wipers in case you want to know? Yes, that is it right there. Window wipers on parked. What is that? What is parked? What do we do with that sort of thing? Let's look at the window wipers for a second. Let's go ahead and turn it on wash mode. We have no fluid here, so there's not going to be any wonderful spray on the window. That just sucks. Kind of wish there was. Would have been nice Dovetail game to put a little rain effect while it's doing that on wash mode. Maybe the remaster will have this. Let's go ahead and put this on. On obviously does the same thing, and we're going to put this on off. And yes, when you turn it on off, the window wiper basically gets stuck in your face. Imagine driving the train where you had it on wash or on or whatever, and it just ended up right there in the middle of your field of view. That is so annoying. So that's why they have a park function, which will drive the window wipers back to where it belongs. Not on the first wipe, but at least on the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth wipe. Now, folks, down here, we have a couple options. We have TPWS. I will come back to this one in just a second. We have train stop override. I will come back to this one in just a second. Brake demand. We have that one. I will come back to just a second. Before we get there, let us look at the hazard light. The hazard light, yes, it is this button. The cool part is it does light up here. Now, the hazard lights are on. As you can see, they're nice and flashy. The downside about UK Rail, the hazard lights usually do not stay on permanently. However, in this HST, as you can see, it is still flashing. A lot of times it will shut itself off, but in this case, you have to turn off the headlight flash yourself. What is the train supply brightness function? What does that even do? The train supply function. If I turn that on, a little light lights up right here. Yay. There you go. So what that does, that sends power over to the previous engine, the one in the very back of the train where we just came from. That will basically unify the two engines to supply power together. If you don't want that, you just turn this off. And as you can see, the light, it matters with that. There's some buttons over here. Let's quickly use the train supply brightness function. That turns it on brightness and dim. So yes, if you can't see, turn it up a little bit. Window screen de-icer. If you start getting ice on your screen, this for some reason works in Train Sim World, but yet it doesn't work when you have buttons like these ones. Really dumb. The spare button, I had spent months trying to figure out what the heck the spare button really is for. Technically, that's all it is a spare function. It doesn't do anything. This little computer console here doesn't do anything. This phone obviously works when we're driving the train, contact the signaler. Yet we have another phone. This is probably to contact the guard. We have another phone. What's the point? This train has 3 phones and dials that don't work. Down here, we do have climate control. We can put this on heat. We can put this on cold. And we can even turn on the fan speed to whatever speed we like. Way over here, very important, AWS isolation. If I turn this on, you'll get that wonderful, annoying shrill. Right here is the sunflower. Now, if you had seen my previous video in the Class 66, you'll see me talking about the sunflower. I'm happy to tell you it again. I'll give you a little brief thing about the sunflower. Basically, you're getting irradiated in the train. The sunflower is like the coolest feature in the train. It's actually a mechanical device. So we're going to turn this back on again. Look at that. Look at that. Yes, it is a mechanical device, and it will only turn black if the lights are green. As soon as you get a yellow light, that sunflower will turn into that, so it's a visual indicator of this occurring on your train line. I do have a cool video that kind of highlights this. You'll see that on the screen if I haven't already put it on the screen. Really cool function, and now also you'll notice the light down here, AWS. As soon as I turn that on, that little light turns off. We're going to press Q just to get rid of that annoying noise. Down here is the DSD pedal, which will not work until you turn on the DSD isolation to unlock, or shall we say isolated to unisolated. Now, there's no indication in here that tells you whether or not you've done that, so you just have to make sure to turn on both of these switches. Why that's the responsibility of the second man, I just don't know. The second man honestly had no responsibilities except for turning on the climate control, playing the horn, and pressing the little AWS reset button and making sure the driver doesn't fall asleep. That's really all their function. Thank you, Dovetail Game, for not letting me use the driver in free interface units. There's no point in explaining what this is for because it doesn't work in the game. time. Now, what is the DRA? The DRA is actually critical here in this train. We're going to turn off the emergency brake for just a second. I'm actually going to release the brake. We're going to let that brake pipe fill up, and we're going to put the train on forward, and we're going to actually put this on throttle 1, folks. Yes, we are going to drive the train finally. Yay! But yeah, once the bars get all the way up to, what is it? I think 5.1, then this train will finally move. However, the point of the DRA is if there's a red light ahead of me, this is to remind me that there is a red light ahead of me and the train should not move. To repeat for a second, this train should not move if there's a red light in front of me. However, the DRA in Train Sim World does not quite operate in the same fashion. Now, as you're noticing here, the brake cylinder is kind of turning off. Let's go ahead and turn up the throttle for a second. We're going to put this on throttle 5. We're not moving. Why are we not moving? Where's our ampere? Nothing is happening. Did I forget something important? Probably not. Well, let's go ahead and turn off the DRA and see what happens, folks. As soon as I turn off the DRA, the train massively tries to speed up. And as soon as I turn on the DRA, look at that, the train instantly shuts down. So if you say your train can't move, do check the DRA. That could be one of the reasons for that, folks. Now, let's come back to the train supply button. Technically, the way this is really supposed to work is I should be back in the back car. And in the back car, if you notice it's already on. Now, if I turn it off over here, obviously it turned off. So technically, we really want to turn this on officially in the back car. But Train Sim World does kind of a convenient thing of already turning it on in the front car. Whatever, if one way or another it connects the two cars together, we're happy. The other thing that this does is if I turn off this function and I go back outside for a second, and we just kind of zoom down to the cars here, you'll notice the cars are off with the lights. You guys are stuck in the dark. As soon as I turn on the train supply brightness, this is just something you don't think of, that it actually turned on the lights in the car. You saw the lights lit up there. This guy's now happy he can read his book and enjoy his train trip to nowhere. Now, you'll notice, I'm going to say this one more time. We're going to put this back on maximum throttle. You'll notice as soon as I turn off the DRA, this is how we know the parking brake is failing us. The parking brake should not let this train move. This train should have no brake pipe pressure. None of this should happen. Just like it said, nothing should happen to move this train, yet this train is already moving. What the heck, parking brake? Even if I turn it off, will this train stop? Yes, the train will stop because the parking brake is applied and will stop this train. But officially in real life, the parking brake prevents the train from moving. This is absolutely ridiculous stuff to do again. Fix the parking brake, please. To officially turn off the parking brake, just open this little tab, press the off button, and you'll see that little light up there. It will tell you whether it's off or on. Why you have to have a special like nuclear weapon cap there, whatever, go for it. The high-speed rail, I guess it's special so that way you don't accidentally press the button while you're driving. But I would actually, personally, I would think that this cap would be better served on the parking brake button so you don't accidentally press the parking brake button while you're moving the train. That would be a disaster, folks. Now, you remember how I opened the door here? There's no door on this one because this is the bike car. We're not allowed to see bikes in this train. How exciting. We're going to go to the next door right over here. This door says closed. Technically, we can open the door like this, but there is actually another way to open the door. Going outside is super easy to open the door. Yes, you just saw the secret thing. To open the door here, you'll notice there's no handle. There's no way out. It's almost like you're trapped inside this train. Yes, it's almost like everybody in here is trapped with me, but that's not actually true. The thing with it is you have to open the window to find the door latch so you can finally get the door to open, which is just a dumb feature, honestly, that you need to open the window when, in all honesty, there is a little latch here. I would think you could just press the door open kind of like that, but whatever reason, the door will generally not always open properly if you can't find the button. See, as you can see there, I've already lost it. I'm still standing in the same place. As soon as the window's open, I can finally open the door. Weird function, game. Weird function. One more point about driving the train. Yes, we're going to leave the parking brake on just for a minute. We're going to put this on max throttle. You'll notice the train no longer can move. Is it because of the DRA? Is it because of the parking brake? We're going to go ahead and turn off the parking brake. Make sure that that light switches. Yay. Now, why is our train not moving? Is it because of the fact that my main door is open? No, it is not, folks. Why does the train not move yet again? The brakes are on like they're supposed to be, but yet the throttle didn't move. Now, you notice that there's a difference there. Let's do that one more time. Let's go back onto the outside. We're just gonna... I can't even open the door until the train officially stops. So we're going to have to stop our train here for just a second. And we're going to open the door. We're going to leave the door open. Now you can see the red icon has lit up. Notice that as soon as I closed the door, the red icon didn't change. The difference here, however, once I put the throttle on and then I tried to close the door, and even whether the window was open or closed, one of the reasons the train did not move, notice I left the window open. If you don't believe me, there's the open window. Notice as soon as I go back with the throttle down to 0, it clears the fault and then we can finally move the train. And yes, the fault light does not light up or anything like that, which is so annoying that it doesn't do that, folks. Initial reduction on the brakes, or essentially that's what it is to slow my train gradually. I have like 5 steps here all the way to full service. We'll put this on full service temporarily. Getting back over here to the TPWS system, it's a little hard to see obviously, so we're just going to zoom that in for you guys. The brake demand light, that will primarily turn on when you run over the AWS system that triggers the train to stop. If you accidentally run through a light that you're supposed to slow down for, the light will activate the brake demand and will shut off your brake. Now, there's something important with this. Keep in mind, this brake demand is part of the TPWS system, and when it activates because of the AWS, in other words, when this wonderful shrill noise here goes beep on you like this, and you don't press Q fast enough, the key is you got about 2.53 seconds, depending on your traction, to cancel that AWS. If you don't cancel it in time, this will eventually result in an emergency brake application. Yes, this will essentially happen. You'll vacate all your brakes, your train will just shut down and stop, and this light will light up, will generally be blinking, and eventually will just basically be standing still and not doing anything, right? If you get a brake demand lit up on the panel, the function of this is not actually to prevent the single pass on danger. It's actually to prevent accidents by ensuring the train stops before a conflicting point such as a junction like the one in front of us, such as, potentially running into another train in front of us, or even running through a red light. It won't stop you from running through the red light. It's just supposed to prevent you from doing so. That's the idea. You'll see it either flashing or steady, and when it's steady is when you've acknowledged the AWS. So in other words, once you press Q, that's when that happened. And by the way, the DSD here is meant to be for when you're alive. If you're dead, you're not pressing this anymore. If you're asleep, you're not pressing this anymore. So that's really the point of it. And the AWS, on the other hand, this function is really meant to acknowledge when the brake demand light goes on, or when you need to acknowledge it because of the sunflower in front of us. I've said this previously in the Class 66. Again, if you want to watch that one, there's a fantastic video on how to run the Class 66. Now, here's the deal with the other function. Now, the one in the middle, the temporary isolation fault. We're going to turn this one here back off. You'll notice that turned that back on. We're going to turn this back on. Yes, that's right. AWS isolation indicates the temporary isolation fault. Now, the train stop override, if I press this light will light up, and it's designed for me to go through a red signal at danger. If not, there is danger. It allows me to get through, and it gives me a certain amount of time to get through. If I don't get through within a lot of time, I have to press it again. Or if I basically have to go through 2 separate ones, I have to press it again a second time. So this train stop override allows me to proceed through the red light, but I have about 20 seconds to do it. As you saw, the light turned off. For passenger, it is about 20 seconds. For freight, it is about 60 seconds, folks. If I have to go through 2 of these active TSS loops, and TSS loops essentially is the train stop override system, right? Okay, if I have to go through 2 of these within 20 to 60 seconds, I have to press this override again when going past the second system, even if the 20 and 60 seconds have not elapsed. Remember, 20 for passenger, 60 for freight. And keep in mind, I didn't quite mention this, if you died or if you're asleep, you're not going to do this. So one time I remember driving this train, and I was late at night, and I was going the whole hour. I was going from Paddington all the way to Reading, and I'm legit. I was like, and I fell asleep at the train. I fell asleep at the wheel. You guys would have loved it had I recorded that. But yeah, I was completely asleep, and my train didn't officially reach. It basically kept driving all the way to Paddington, and whatever reason, I just got lucky. Maybe I didn't drive it quite right, where I wasn't going fast enough or anything like that. I just got lucky, and the train just met me at Paddington. Now, how did that happen? It was because I was the passenger in the train. Yes, I sat in the passenger seat. So yes, if you sit in the passenger seat and you're not officially pushing this, AI will do it for you, folks. Now, you remember how we manually open the door? Technically, I showed you this briefly. If I'm going to unlock both, I'm just going to lock both of them. Let's go ahead and see what happened. The windows all open in the train, and all the doors open, yes, on both sides, because I did that for both sides. What I love here is they light up the train cab when the train are actually open or closed, not the train, but the doors. As soon as I close the door, it should turn off that light at some point. But yeah, so let's go ahead and push this. We're going to lock both doors. It's eventually going to do that, and there it goes. All the lights have officially turned off because all the doors are shut. So let's do that one more time manually. Open the door. It doesn't do it. It actually only does it when you actually unlock the doors. To unlock left, there it is. And all the left doors are open. And it's really convenient that they added this little small detail of the light on the side of the engine. I do have to appreciate that. Remember this, of course, folks, when you try to drive this train, just go back and put this on engine off. We'll turn off the master key for just a second. we're going to actually turn off the emergency brake as well. When you have this engine mostly in a state like this, and remember, you have to turn on the master key to move the train. Remember, you have to put the reverser on some other setting. If you are already driving, you obviously can't see. I can't turn on the throttle unless it's on a setting. Once it's on neutral, I can turn this, but if it's on neutral and I put this on forward, it won't let me go on forward until I put it back to idle. So again, put it on forward, and it won't let me go again until I've officially locked the doors. So let's go ahead and lock the left doors. As you can see, the icon down here shows you that. We're going to unlock the left door one more time. It does show you the icon one more time down here. Lock it one more time. There it goes. The icon's gone away. And the train, of course, will not move. And sometimes what you have to do is reset this and then go forward again. And what's missing here is the brake demand button, so to speak, or the running brake. Remember, HSTs, the brakes take forever to get moving. You have to wait till it's at least at 3.6 to 5.1, somewhere in that range. And notice I have my throttle on full here. The train will not officially move until I put this throttle all back, and I have to reset that so that way I can get my train to go forward. That's the only way it's going to happen, folks. One of the things that's not officially in Train Sim World that I kind of wish was is when you're taking power on a hill. Brunel's system barely has hills, folks. There's no way it's going to have too many issues, but even if it did, you're not allowed to take power until the brake controller is fully released, which is not like real life. If real life was like this, where the brakes are completely released, you are rolling backwards. You would actually really want the brakes to stay on while you throttle up and then release the rest of the brakes. That's really how it's supposed to go when you're doing this, you know what I mean? So the way this is supposed to work, if you were on a hill and you're driving with the guard and everything, the guard in the back would buzz you. He would go beep, beep, like this, and he would buzz you, right? And that's where you'd be able to go forward, right? The idea is you would go forward, but you would put the brakes on to brake 1 from whatever setting you originally had it on. Then you put the notch on whatever setting you want to have it on, usually notch 1, and then you press buzz buzz to the guard like this to let him know you're ready to go as well. And then you wait for the brakes to partially relieve and the amp to increase, kind of like how it did here. And then at that point, you press the brake controller to release it. And then at that point, you can go ahead and do notch 2 or 3. And Train Sim World is not entirely exact on this, but this is essentially how you would deal with getting off of a hill. Train Sim World, you can actually do this with release brakes and you don't roll back, which is kind of crazy to me that that even happened, folks. All right, folks, one more point about this. I just have to emphasize this. Let's go ahead and turn off our brakes. Let's go ahead and throttle up. Watch what happens here. My door is open. I'm going to start the throttle up all the way to throttle 5. My door automatically closes for me, and my door is completely unopenable. It's totally locked until my train comes to a complete stop. Once my train officially stops, then my door can finally be open. I love the functionality of this, and in real life, it could shut my door like this. That would be amazing, but the risk of losing my hand would be impeccable, and I would be like, oh my god, my hand's going to be chopped off if this door open automatically like that. That's just insane, folks. Let's go ahead and put this here, and we're just going to spawn this in as soon as it lets me do so. Spawn in card, yay. How do we couple with this train? Very important point, folks, something I haven't gotten back to. You have a coupler hatch. We're going to open this coupler hatch. Not only do we have to open this coupler hatch, we have to pull out the Buckeye. Yes, the most weirdest looking Buckeye ever. We're going to go ahead and climb in, shut the door to get the rail noise out, and we're going to go ahead and throttle up. Yes, we are going to couple this engine to this car. Why would we want to do something kind of crazy like that? I don't know, but we're just going to do it because it's fun, right? All right, coupling at about 7 miles an hour. This is good enough. Let's go ahead and put on the train brakes, try to slow it down. This ought to be fine. There we go. The train is officially coupled. Everything is awesome. We're going nowhere. In fact, we could actually drive this train. It's crazy that the fact is that this train is coupled. You could still drive this train. And the fun part about this is there's lots of things that can happen here. Yes, the train can be driven like this, which is just crazy. We can actually unlock the doors and watch what's going to happen to the doors here. Let's go ahead and unlock the right doors for a second. That's going to open all of the right doors, which should be the ones in front of us. There it goes. Yep. And it will actually unlock the doors in front of us. But here's the funny part. It does not unlock the doors of the rest of the train. How crazy is that? So we're going to do this again with the left doors, and we're just going to kind of zoom out over here so you can kind of catch both sides. Unlock the left doors. Let's go ahead and do that. The left door is open, and it only unlocks the train in front of me. It did not unlock anything behind me. Not just that, once you couple up the HST to anything, there is no solid way to uncouple the HST. It's just insane that you cannot uncouple the HST. There's just no way to do it. No functionality to uncouple the HST. You would think there would be a way. You would think they would have set this up in some way to do this, but they did not. In fact, there is a button to retract the Buckeye, and there is a function to basically shut the hatch. Yes, to do this. I'm not kidding, guys. You could do this. All right, folks, the door just closed automatically, so to speak, and this engine is now driving backwards. The glad hands, these are essentially called glad hands in America. The glad hands have not disconnected, have not disengaged. I am literally hauling a rail car by the hoses, and I cannot officially disconnect it. It's so crazy to me that this can happen, and this does it. Folks, I love the fact that it says my doors are open, even though it closed it automatically for the cars that are in front of me. It's not supposed to do that. So we're going to drive forward for just a second. We're going to couple up. Yes, another one of these. This happened to be the opposite car that one was. So it's kind of funny to me that the car is claiming that the doors are open because none of them are properly locked. I'm already breaking this game. This is so exciting. We're going to couple this one up. Yes, we've done it. We've coupled it. Now, can we couple these cars? Can we uncouple these cars more specifically? The train's just going to find a way to stop. Now, obviously, we can't uncouple this, but can we uncouple these cars from each other? Let's go ahead and see if there is a function in here anywhere to uncouple the cars. So if you'll notice, as soon as you couple these to anything, you cannot technically uncouple these type of cars. The only way you can uncouple these cars, whether it is the cars themselves or the engine, there's only one way to do it, and that's to get a train that can officially uncouple the cars. Let's go ahead and spawn in a Class 66 because why not, right? Let's go ahead and spawn in one of these guys, and we'll just put the light engine, so that way we got one of them. Spawn that guy in right here, and we're just going to pull out the Buckeye. We will talk about the Buckeye later when you watch the other episode on the Class 66. All right, with the Class 66 coming in, and we're going to dock that right here on this car. I'm going to show you something real quick, and it's a really important thing about this. The Class 66 actually has a release lever here, and we can unlock that release lever. I can put it in reverse, and I can back out the Class 66. And this is really the only way to uncouple this car here. It's also the only way to uncouple the engine. If you don't believe me about the engine, folks, I have spawned in a CX6 engine at Great Western Express. Why did I do that? Let's go ahead and open the coupler hatch. It has a Buckeye. This engine has a Buckeye. Let's just test this out for a second. And by the way, if you want to watch a video on SD40s, I actually have an American series going for the SD40s, the GP38, and the AC4400 from Sand Patch Grade. So if you're ever interested in that, you are welcome to watch that particular video. See, can this connect together? Yes, it can. Look at that. Yes, even an American train can connect to a British train. And the best part about the American train, and actually here's the hilarious thing, Buckeye, remove, coupler hatch closed. Let's go ahead and put this guy in reverse. And look, it even says the doors are open, even though I'm driving the SD40. That is my person there driving the SD40, and it's claiming the doors are open. Well, there we go. We can move this, even though the doors are open, even though the train is parked, even though there is no coupler. We're hauling with our American-made glad hand, which are super powerful, folks, super powerful. Now, you remember when I put in high and I got high-speed train? There is something where you can do custom formation, and you can do this. Yes, there is a test train, and I've got that. What is this test train, folks? In fact, what I want to do is flip this around this way, and that way I can get my train to spawn in properly. Yes, you can actually spawn in a single engine. I'm going to go back into the livery screen later in a few minutes, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. But for right now, we're going to drive this train, and the best part is, look at this. This thing is already broken. There's already a broken piece that's supposed to be connected to something, and it's not working right now, but that's okay because we have this engine set up. Let's go ahead and open the coupler hatch and let us go ahead and put the Buckeye out. All right, folks, we're going to crash this train into that one and into this one. Yes, it's true. We can actually drive a single engine right here, Class 66. If you ever wanted to, you could just drive it with one. And remember, as soon as you hook this up, there is no disconnecting that engine, no matter whether you hooked it up on the front or you hooked it up on the broken back there. There's just no way to stop this engine, folks. All right, folks, so I deleted the rest of the trains that were out here, and I just basically spawned in these two. And the big question here that you probably have been left wondering is, how in the world did I spawn in these two engines? First off, I obviously spawned a new train. I went for high-speed train. I went for the high-speed train GWE, and over here to custom formation. Not liveries, but custom formation. Notice I've got one that says test, only 17 meters long, and once I spawn that in, you can see it is the engine itself. Yes, that does mean I can hook up the engine on the back of this and just do a bunch of fun stuff with the way the train looks and everything. All right, because I know someone's going to comment about this. They're going to ask, well, why don't you just go ahead and hook up this engine? So I did. I connected this engine to that engine to this engine, and now we have 3 engines all connected together. What do you say about this one? This one's technically not connected. It is. I just essentially put these Buckeyes away. If you really want to see them pulled out, I could definitely pull them out. You can see they are officially connected. They're glitchy, but they're connected. They are the way they're supposed to be. And with that even said, I can even try to close the hatch on you, but I don't think I'll do that. We'll leave it here. With that said, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to teach you guys how to spawn in this individual livery, so that way just the engine by itself. But what I have to do here is quit this main game, go back to the main screen, and go from there. Alright, I'm back on the main screen here, and I want to show you how to get to Formation Designer. In case you just didn't know, it's not so obvious. You would think you go to the train, you choose a route, choose a train depot, whatnot, but that's not really the case. All you gotta do is go down to the Creators Club. Yes, we have these lovely Creators Club thing. Click into that. You'll see the Formation Designer here on the left, but you also have Livery Designers. A Livery Designer, of course, is to deal with the livery itself if you want to make changes there, or if you wanted to make an entire scenario, you're welcome to do that, or if you just simply want to share with everybody else, you've got the ability. But where we're going is Formation Designer. Now here's where my test one is there. I can edit the details, I can copy this, or I can delete it. Now for this, I'm going to set up a new one. Notice what I did with the formation list here. So we're going to add new. We're going to add new formation. We're actually going to title this one High Speed Train. In fact, we're going to title it something else. Class 43 HST. So it's a little bit easier to find. Class 43 HST High Speed Rail. We can get kind of fancy with how we want to do that. Push confirm. Name not allowed. Thank you, Dovetail Game. Why is the name not allowed? I wonder why. Let's just take it off an S. No one saw that. Let's see what it said. Description not allowed. Oh my god, Dovetail Game, stop it. There we go. Class 43 HST. We got it, folks. We're never going to find that ever again. Formation Builder is where we're going, but let's check out setting. We can flip the formation forward or reverse, and we can also change the name, which is this name right back in here. So let's go back and click Formation Builder. What do we want to do? We want to add an official locomotive, or do we want to add a custom locomotive? If you do custom, you're going to be looking for Creators Club or the personal one, which happens to be my train that I've already put together. We're not doing that. We're setting up a brand new one. To set up a brand new one, we're going to add official, and what we have to do now is select a vehicle. Yay. So we know how to find it. It's going to be under High Speed Train. That's what we're looking for. And we have option between Great Western Express High Speed 10 car or Great Western Train GWE. We're going to go with the GWE because that's the one I'm aiming for. And there we are. We have our engine. Now, what do we do? Add official. I'm just going to select the 10 car train, and look what it did. This is actually quite funny. I can't, where can I get the zoom? There we go. It actually did something kind of funny for me here. So it added the single engine that I did, but it also added the 10 car train right behind it. Yay. Well, what do I do to get rid of this? What if I don't want this? I just highlight this. I can basically click delete just to get rid of the 10 car train, and that will delete the vehicle. What am I left with? I'm left with a single engine. If I like this the way it is, I don't want to customize nothing else. Oh, if I can always change the background, light, dark, whatever. I could click save to save this, and that's actually what we're going to do right now. We're going to click save. You see it says save. We're going to go ahead and exit the Formation Designer. Yes, I want to save changes again. And now you'll see my Class 43 HST is available for me to use along with my test Class 43 HST. So let's go ahead and go back to the game, and we'll show you that for just a second, folks. All right, Odo comment has loaded back in yet again. I didn't save nothing, so this is fine. So we're going to go ahead and spawn new train, and we're going to type in class, and without even adding, okay, look at it. Look at this, folks. Look at this. Class 9, class 101, class 166. Hello, Dovetail Games. Why do you mess with me? And I can't use the word class, but you guys can. That's just messed up, folks. Class 43. Now let's look at that. Class 43 HST. Why did this not come up, folks? Where is my class 43 HST? Now remember where I put it, so keep in mind why I did this way. So what I was trying to do is get it so I can go type in class like this, but instead the way to find it is you still have to find it under High Speed Train GWE, because that's where I have it. And under my custom formation, I have my class 43, which I am not allowed to spell, but Dovetail Game is really messed up, folks. 231 meters. It says 11 cars. What did it save for me? Let's find out. It just saved the engine, but it did not save the information. Good job, Dovetail Game, for messing that up completely, folks. There we are. We have our Formation Designer, folks, and there we have it. We have our class 43 HST engine, if in all of its glory. Remember, folks, if you couple this up to anything, you would not be able to really uncouple unless you couple it to an engine that can uncouple, such as the wonderful class 66 engine. If you put the class 66 with this, you can definitely uncouple it. All right, folks, I have sent my train off to just be destroyed on its own. If you like this, definitely like, subscribe, leave me comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. thoughts about this, and we will see you in the next one. You're welcome to watch my Class 66 setup video on how to set it up, as well as MU mode. We will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.